Don't be ashamed to learn things that you need to know. Here's Sexplanations with Dr. Doe.
Sexplanations podcast, episode 15. My name is Lindsey Doe. I'm a clinical sexologist, doctor of human sexuality, and host of the YouTube channel Sexplanations, where I sex edutain the planet. Charley Macorn, our very special co-host today, is a writer, stand-up comedian, and stand-up... And stand-up... I just want to call you a sex edutainer.
I'll take that. I will put that on my cards.
But you're a stand-up
Correct.
edutainer. See, I just put the words together. You're a stand-up edutainer, and you participate in the comedy circuit speaking, but also I think I read on your bio that you've taught stand-up.
I have. I've worked a lot with youths, a lot of
Youths? Yeah.
I feel like such an old person saying that. No, I teach stand-up and improv skills here in town at Missoula Base, and then throughout the state, I've gone around and taught stand-up skills as life skills. Because when you're good at some sort of art thing, you have to find a way to make money off it. And teaching kids to deal with bullies through stand-up has kind of been my way of doing that.
Wow. That's so amazing of you.
Yeah, it is. I am fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, you are. I mean, I think that that's the moral human thing to do, but people don't often choose the right way to live. So good on you.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get into sort of that racket. I started doing comedy and then sort of realized that who I was in the place that I'm living gave me, special, I'd say, opportunity to really help out, with people dealing with things in the most vaguest way possible. Like, are you dealing with things? I will come help you. No, being able to work with especially LGBTQ youth in the state has been like just heartwarming. And while it wasn't why I got into the game, as it were, it's really been a nice part of my life and something I'm very proud of.
You were saying earlier that who you are makes you maybe a more valuable teacher in that platform. What do you mean by that?
I'm a non-binary trans person.
Okay.
I had a really bad life until I figured stuff out about me. And then I started to put things back together. And then by the time that I got there, I realized that, being in Montana and being in this part of Montana and sort of going through this gender revolution that the society itself is sort of opening up and realizing new things about gender and sexuality, there are a lot of kids like me out there who now have words to put to who they are and what they are. And be able to help those kids, help kids like me who I didn't have anyone like that has been it's been really solid. It really warms my heart. It makes me feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah, you are doing something. Lots of somethings.
I try.
I love it. I'm so grateful. So you're a role model, you're a mentor, you're somebody who entertains the crap out of me, and you're an educator. So I'm hoping that during our time together, you can teach me some things. Maybe how to be funnier.
Oh, you don't need any help with that.
Well, thank you. Here's how I see this happening. We'll talk about those who support us on Patreon because they're a very important part of this show. And in doing that, there will be a short test. We'll visit an episode of Sexplanations' YouTube channel about sexual terminology, which is what I'm hoping we get to talk about for most of today. And then you'll test my knowledge of some sex terms that I may or may not know, and then I'll return the favor because I'm a giver.
Okay. I'm excited to completely embarrass myself and my education on your podcast.
Sweet. One last thing I should tell you is that if you have a tendency to do Kegels, don't do them yet because we...
Too late. You saying the word, my body just like, oh, it's time. Go now.
Everybody, I love it so much. So we'll do a pelvic workout later. You can start now, but you might be sore. And then we'll just talk about whatever comes up regarding sex or not and just have fun.
Excellent.
Does that sound good?
I love having fun.
Me too. So first, a shout out to Laura Schuster, Paul Nixon, Donna Flint, Maddie O'Sullivan, and the Millers for being our boss level sexplanauts. You can be just like them by going to patreon.com/Sexplanations podcast, where you can get cool perks like a weekly shout out and a test question in your honor.
Now it's time to hold our testes.
All right, Charley and listening audience members, here's your testy question. According to one of my favorite books, Sexy Origins and Intimate Things, the earliest appearance of the word beaver referring to a crotch was in 1927. And I can read to you that limerick if you'd like. But first,
Oh, it's a limerick.
It's a limerick.
A great historical limerick.
But first, the question is, what is beaver fever? And it's multiple choice. So I'm going to give you 4 options.
Okay.
A, genital herpes. B, the equivalent to vulva blue balls. C, the sometimes strong smell of vagina. Or D, the state of being horny.
You know what? I'm going to go with D on
Good
that
job!
one.
That's great. Do you want to hear the limerick?
Absolutely.
I'm impressed. I tried really hard to come up with good alternatives for beaver fever.
Those were they were all tough, but I kind of had the idea in my head of what it could be, and then there was other things like, oh, I'm way off, and then it got to the end.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Beaver fever, I think, is one that's not,
Yeah. Normally, I'm against words that rhyme. Like I'm against putting words together just because they rhyme, but I think beaver fever gets a pass because it's from the 1920s. So
yeah. Okay. Do you want to know some other beaver terms?
absolutely.
Before I do the limerick, there's beaver pose, which is a woman seated with her knees apart. There's beaver shot, which is a glimpse of crotch.
That one I've heard before.
A beaver shot?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Usually in reference to films and film criticism.
Yeah. Yeah. Like cum shot.
Different kind of film.
Yeah, that's true, actually, because this book, Sexy Origins and Intimate Things that I'm reading from, refers to Basic Instinct in 1992, where Sharon Stone uncrossed her legs as the first beaver
I think that's the
shot.
one I'm specifically thinking of, actually.
The beaver shot.
A film I've never actually seen, but that one scene has just entered pop culture in a way that we've all seen 1,000 parodies of it. And so I think that's where I
Okay.
picked it up from.
Well, so on this show, we give a homework assignment each week
Okay.
called Sexter Credit, and maybe we can assign watching Basic Instinct. We'll see. Maybe something else.
Yeah,
will come up.
viewer discretion is advised.
The last one that's here. Oh no, there's 2 more. There's Beaver Posse, which is a group of men in search of sex, and then there's a beaver shooter.
I'm a little disappointed that Beaver Posse is about men. I feel
Right. Well, let's see this book. I was thinking that too about Beaver Pose, a woman seated with her knees apart, because those are both gendered. But I think it's because this book is dated and it hasn't been part of the revolution. Copyright 1998.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's why. We will forgive you, Charles Panatti. But now Beaver Posse, as determined by this show, and Charley Macorn, refers to a group of people in search of sex.
I agree. Let's bring that back. We'll get some T-shirts printed. We'll take out an ad in the Independent.
I am part of the Sexplanations podcast, Beaver Posse.
If I had enough knuckles, that would be my tattoo right across them.
Oh, Yankee pitcher Jim Bouton in his 1970 bestseller, Ball 4, irritated his teammates when he revealed that many practitioners of America's national pastime were full beaver shooters. A beaver shooter is, at bottom, a peeping Tom. Now you know. Okay, but here's the limerick.
Okay.
Limerick, published in 1927. There was a young lady named Ava who went to the ball as Godiva, but a change in the lights showed a tear in her tights and a fellow present called Beaver.
Interesting.
No, and a low fellow present called Beaver. I don't know how to read a limerick, clearly.
I don't know either. Language changes enough that it's interesting to think about at that time that word was in use enough that someone could put it into a limerick, or at least some filthy poet somewhere.
Right,
I'm not talking about poetry in general. I'm not saying, these filthy poets here with their big ideas. No, I mean like the naughty body poets.
Yeah. But I think that they're saying that's the first time beaver was used to refer
Oh,
to
that's the
crotch.
first time that was, okay.
Yeah, so it hadn't been used in that way until that
Interesting.
very
Okay.
moment
That makes sense now.
when a low fellow got a shot of beaver and shouted beaver.
Yeah, there's a real beaver shooter at the prom. I don't know why I said prom. I probably should have thought it was just dance. Prom makes it bad.
So what do you think about some sex terms that I may or may not know?
I'm excited to see. I've thought of a couple, and there's a couple I thought of mainly because I want to talk about a bit. But the first one I'm probably going to mess this up because there's an umlaut right over it. The Grafenberg spot.
Yes, gotcha. Let's tell the audience. This is referring to tissue on the anterior wall of the vagina, so about 1 inch to 2 inches in and up toward the belly button, that sometimes feels like wet corduroy. And it's easier to find if the person is turned on. You can give pressure to it through stimulation, and it may lead to ejaculation, may not. And it's also controversial because some people say that it's not even a thing. So there we go. Named after Grafenberg.
Named after a German man.
Yes. Funny, right? Because so many parts are named after the people who find them. And I'm like, no, you did not find that. That was not your discovery.
We've had these for a long time there, buddy.
Yeah. We just don't stick a flag in them and claim them like everyone else out there. Yeah. So the G-spot for short. Do you have another one? I love that you're trying. I'm so...
I was going for that one. That was only because I wrote a paper about it in college.
Ooh.
And about the controversy of it.
Yeah.
Which I had no idea going in about how, well, okay. I have one written down on my phone because it's like 1,000 syllables.
Okay.
And
I like your nails, by the way.
Oh, thank you very much.
The magenta pink.
Charley Macorn original color, magenta
Yeah.
pink.
My nails are not painted. I actually just scraped the last bit of yellow off of them.
All right, this one I think might not be difficult because it's right there in the name, but is paraphilic infantilism.
So paraphilia referring to when you have an attraction that it is outside of what we would consider traditional or conventional. So even something like homosexuality used to be considered a paraphilia up until 1973 because it was attraction to someone of the same sex. So that's paraphilia, right? And infantilism would be referring to the attraction to the experience of being like an infant. So wearing diapers and suckling breasts and having a pacifier and baby talk.
Man, I thought I was going to stump you with that one.
Did I nail it?
You did.
Good.
I did some.
I feel good about myself.
Yeah, I did some deep web search, and those were the two.
You're good. Well done. I'm feeling, Charlie, come on the show and validate my knowledge of sexuality. Ask me about sex terms.
You know, it's the first podcaster to ask me that, so.
I'm wondering if I can come up with terms that you may or may not know. I feel like there are a lot in the community, the queer community, that are used as slang among members that aren't really shared with
Oh, okay.
like the cis hetero people.
So like poppers.
Ooh. Yeah. Do I know poppers?
Do you know poppers?
Poppers as in like VCR cleaner that are used that you can get high on so that your asshole relaxes so you can have anal sex?
Yeah. Dictionary definition right there.
Okay, keep going. I love this game
Oh,
so much.
okay. All right. Power bottom.
Power bottom. So bottom referring to a receptive partner, in this case for anal sex. And I could use it in context. I don't know if I can define the power part of it. Like topping from the bottom where the person is like a dominant receptive partner.
Yeah, I think that would fit it pretty well.
So for example, this person might say something like, fuck my ass.
Yes.
And they wouldn't be a passive like, I'm taking it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, that's good. All right, this next one, maybe a little crude. Do you know cum gutters?
Cum gutters.
I'm a little curious to see what you're thinking of.
Because, well, right now I'm thinking, gosh, I wish that this podcast had a visual component so people could see me going deep into the recesses of my mind to try and dig up cum gutters.
I'm watching Lindsey go into her mind palace right now.
I'm going into my cum gutters is where I'm going. Okay, let's see. Cum gutters. Well, so cum probably referring to semen. Mm-hmm. And then gutters, maybe like the intestines, like it's a cum shot in the asshole that goes way up.
That's not bad. The definition as I know it would be, this is gross saying this out loud. It is a person, genuinely a man, with really ripped abs. The really ripped abs
The ripped abs are the gutters. They're the gutters?
They're the gutters.
Why are they called gutters?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's one that I picked up somewhere and have never been able to get it out of my brain.
How would you use it in a sentence? Is that something where
Look at that dude's cum gutters. Holy cow.
Oh, this is not like a Tinder profile thing where like, I have the cum gutters.
I feel like I'd probably send a message to that person. And you know what? I might put it on my profile now, despite it being a blatant lie about my physicality. But yeah.
That's so funny. See, you're really good at this. We just needed to go into your lingo.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Do you have any other ones?
Oh, boy. What other gross things do I know?
But these aren't gross. I feel like they're just terms that you use in your language. Like in my world, we would say things like douchebag or damper on an erection. Or these are more sexual terms that are used to refer to non-sexual things versus the other way around.
Sure. And I think there's a lot of go-between with, we don't want to say the clinical words because we were taught that they were gross. So we have these weird metaphors that we've picked up from whatever lingo and hand-to-hand, no pun intended, over the years. All right, how about a Dutch rudder?
A Dutch rudder. I think I read this one recently and then swiftly moved it out of my mind.
That's fair. I think that's totally fair.
Let's see. I just talked about Dutch in a scenario. I was talking about Dutch as an example. I think I just did it in a question. Didn't we just do Dutch in an episode last week? Maybe. Okay. I don't know.
No, don't want to say Dutch oven here, which my brain's been trying to say, but Dutch rudder is when you are holding your genitals and a second party will hold your elbow or your upper arm. I really wish there was a verb.
Okay. Let's see. Someone else is holding your genitals.
No, you're holding your own genitals.
You're holding your own genitals, and then someone else is moving your arm to move your hand on your genitals.
Correct.
God, I
Dutch
like it.
rudder.
Okay. I would not have come up with that at all. I was thinking more like a person has their hand inside the anus and they're moving it like a rudder.
Oh, like a rudder on a ship.
Yeah.
That's also a thing, probably. With a different name, I'm guessing. We should invent a name for that right now.
Missoula rudder.
Missoula rudder. I'll call John Engen. We'll get that on the seal of the city.
John Engen, by the way, is our mayor. Okay,
and
so...
he, as far as we know, maybe isn't into Missoula rudders. We're not making any assumptions about the mayor or judging.
No, or about the city. But, if you're going to name something...
Yeah, name it. Don't name it after who you are, or else we end up with the Grafenberg spot.
Yeah.
Name it after where you are.
Yeah.
Add some hometown pride to wherever you are.
Exactly. Okay. I want to come up with some... So there's a whole episode called A to Z sex terms or A to Z terms, A to Z sexual terms. And we could go through some of those. I would love it if we could pair it with our Kegel exercises. So you could say the letter of the alphabet and we'll just go A to J so we're not really busting ourselves with the full workout.
And because all the hard letters come after J.
Then
Do you have something for Z?
I do. I have. We could do all 26 if you want.
Eye of the Tiger. Let's do it.
Okay, just if you aren't familiar with Kegels, if you haven't worked yourself up to 26 in a row, then just stop it around J and listen after that. Otherwise, if you want like a really badass workout here.
Put on some Foreigner. Don't stop the podcast. Put on some Foreigner over the podcast and just get pumped like you're going to go fight the USSR at the Olympics.
We're going to do alphabet sex term Kegels. All right, let's do this.
All right.
So you're going to say the letter. I will say a word.
Okay.
And then do you want to go through the definitions?
Let's see if there's any that I might have some questions about.
Okay.
All right. So let's start with the king of letters, A.
Anaphrodisiacs.
Anaphrodisiacs or aphrodisiacs?
Anaphrodisiacs.
So an opposite of an aphrodisiac?
Yes, it turns you off.
Okay.
Okay, so, and if I didn't say this already, when you say the letter, we're going to clench.
Okay.
And when I say the word, we're going to relax.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Got it.
So group Kegels, here we go.
All right.
You did A. I said anaphrodisiacs. We got the definition.
All right.
Then we have
B.
barebacking.
I know barebacking.
C. Oh. I'm just going to like...
Yeah, let's just throw them at me. Let's see if I can think of something and not embarrass myself.
No, you go.
Okay. C.
Coitus.
All right. D.
Douching.
E.
Erogenous.
F.
Frenulum.
Let's talk about that one.
Yeah.
What's the frenulum?
The frenulum is the little area of skin where the foreskin was or is attached on a penis.
Okay. That's good to know.
Right?
Yeah. I'm glad
Sensitive.
there's a word for that.
Yeah, the frenulum.
G.
Glory holes.
H.
Wait, you know what glory holes are? That's great.
Yeah, I know glory holes.
Okay.
And if anyone doesn't know what glory holes are,
Go to this video.
or some gas stations.
Oh, I'm told that Barnes & Noble used to have one in their
Whoa.
bathroom. Yeah. And I think I learned about them from the movie with Cameron Diaz where she got the semen in her hair.
There's something about Mary.
Do they have a glory hole in there? Something about Mary?
I don't remember.
Or maybe it was a different movie with Christina Applegate? Let us know in the comments if you know which film I'm
Let us
referring
know
to.
where you learned about glory holes.
Yeah. When I was when I was in graduate school, we went to Billings, a group of us, to be part of an HIV prevention conference. And they took us to an adult bookstore there, which is, if you don't know, that's another term for like a sex shop. And well, I was encouraged in particular to go in the back where they have the stalls to watch videos. And then I could really see a glory hole, which is a hole that is about, I don't know, 2 inches in diameter, 3 inches in diameter, where someone can stick an erection or a flaccid penis, I suppose. And then a person on the other side can then
Do something to it.
do something to it. Right. Hopefully. After being tested
Yes.
and protected. And yeah. Okay. We have thoroughly gone over glory holes. What about
H is next.
hysteria?
I know hysteria. I.
This one is an inside joke because this show is really built around the audience of a community called Nerdfighteria, and they have a channel. Nerdfighteria supports a channel called Vlogbrothers, and the Vlogbrothers had this intro screen at one point called Brotherhood 2.0, and then the tagline or something forgot an I in it, and so I also forgot an I. But let's come up with an I. How about intersex?
Intersex is good. Referring to the roughly 1.25% of people who are born with not both genitalia, but rather physical indications of both sexes. Did I get that? I think
Yeah, like ambiguity, the in-between space of what we might say is a binary system, which is a fallacy. Yeah.
J.
Jism.
K.
Or jizz. For K, I have kegels.
Which we're all doing right now. Because we're going to Russia after
Still
this.
doing them? I have forgotten. I'm so focused on the
I'm
words.
always doing them. Got to be prepared at the moment's notice.
See, that is what could go on your Tinder profile then. You could say something like, I might not have cum gutters, but
But I'm a Kegel's champion.
But yeah.
Grandmaster Kegel.
Yeah.
It's like chess in my mind.
Yeah.
You have to have the rankings.
I like it. Swipe right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charley Macorn. Swipe right.
What letter were we just at?
We just did K.
Just did Kegels. L.
Libido.
M.
Masochism.
N.
Nymphomania.
O.
That's interesting. This thing that I'm reading has S after N. And I was like, why? What happened to the alphabet? But that's because it's satyriasis, which is the male version of nymphomania.
I almost stopped at nymphomania to talk about because I thought there was a different version based on sex or gender. So I'm glad that was the S. And that's SAT something? Is that right?
SATYRIASIS.
So like the mythical creatures.
Yes.
Well,
So
I guess the nymph part would make sense too now that I say that.
Yeah. So we should come up with a gender neutral version.
Oh, sure. This might be a little on the nose, but how about Charley Mania?
I knew you were going to say that.
Because it's such a great idea.
Wait, but do you think it needs to be a mythical creature?
I feel like I am. So I think that works.
I like that. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone, write your congressman or member of Congress. Tell them you want a gender-neutral form of that.
And we have already coined it.
Yeah, and it's Charley Mania.
So we have Charley Mania, and we have Missoula Rudder. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, the people who are in charge of Urban Dictionary are going to lose their mind after this episode. They have so much work they're going to have to do.
Oh, we're doing so much good for the world right now.
I'm glad someone thinks so.
Okay,
Wait,
so we did N,
Yep.
then did S, then you said O,
Right.
which is Oedipus with
Sure.
an O.
And let's talk about that. There's an opposite of that called Electra.
Yeah.
Yes, Electra syndrome. I don't know.
Yeah. So Oedipus, when Freud believed that little boys wanted to have sex with their mothers, and Electra, where little girls want to have sex with their fathers.
Is there a gender neutral version? No, we shouldn't think of that one. We shouldn't.
I
think
mean,
of
if
that.
you can, Electra, Oedipus, they're also Greek figures, right?
They are, and the only Greek figures I think that specifically have that I can think of that have any neutrality have the names, which we take modern words from.
I don't know.
Yeah, we should probably leave this one alone. This might get us on the list if we try to figure out a word for this one.
Well, we also don't need to include everyone and all of the things. In this case, children wanting to have sex with their parents.
Yeah, they've got enough problems without having new words thrown at them. They're dealing with some stuff right now. Let's give the kids a break.
Oh my goodness. Oh, we would love all of your feedback in the comments. Maybe you disagree with us. All right. Next letter?
Oh no, I forgot what letter we were at. Was that was O for Oedipal. Mm-hmm. P.
Priapism.
What's priapism?
This is also named after a Greek figure, the Greek god of livestock, gardens, and male genitalia, Priapus. And it refers to when you have an erection in the penis or the clitoris that lasts more than 4 hours without any stimulation.
Oh, it's that thing you hear about in all the ads on TV.
Yeah. So if you take this pill and then it lasts more than 4 hours, you have a condition called priapism and you need to go to the emergency room.
It's good to know.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Q.
Queefing.
R.
Red Rhapsody.
Okay, what's Red Rhapsody?
Red Rhapsody is when a person really enjoys having sex with someone who is menstruating.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I don't think it's in this. Oh, nope. It is in this episode. I sing a tune of Bohemian Rhapsody to the words, "Put a towel on the bed, take showers after playing, wash off all the red, carry on, consent is all that matters."
Oh, I like that. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah.
The gross version of that word that I know is walking the red carpet.
Oh, I don't think it's gross. I think it's lovely.
Yeah.
But maybe you're not into Red Rhapsody, in which case you might think it's gross. I'm a huge fan of it. I think that menstruation sex is some of my favorite because it's when I'm most turned on and there's already all of that lubricant that makes it feel nice.
Oh, sure.
Charlie, you're looking at me like, yep, not my thing.
Well, let's just say I don't have a lot of experience in certain parts.
That's okay.
All right, so that was R.
Okay.
S.
Sodomy.
And then there's GOMORRAHY, which is an even weirder thing.
Ooh, I don't know Gomorrah.
Just made that one up. Just made it up.
Make it something.
I am creating all of the best words today.
Yes, you are.
GOMORRAHY.
So if sodomy is any penetrative sex that doesn't involve a vagina.
Any penetrative sex that doesn't involve genitals. Let's just talk about genitals. Like it's penetration without genitals.
Gomorrah. Okay, I like it.
There it is. Everyone writing that down? There's going to be a test after this.
Excellent. There should be.
So that was S-T.
Two-spirit.
Which is a very important word.
It is a very important
Let's talk about that because that's one that I don't think hear enough a lot. I mean, maybe here where we have more Native American culture and tribes around, at least my understanding of it comes from sort of the words, well, you go ahead. I don't know if I can.
No, I love it. I'm always having to teach. I love that you're teaching.
So two-spirit comes from Native American traditions that, so surprise, surprise, before the Europeans showed up and kind of made a mess of everything, the culture of Native peoples in the Americas wasn't as binary as like the Europeans were.
Right.
And so sort of, I'm going to use non-binary identities were more common. A person who could do the role of both the men and the women in the tribe. Don't want to call it an identity because that puts a little bit of work on it. But it is a sort of a non-binary Native American tradition, not tradition, but Native American. I use the word identity. I know I shouldn't. I can't think of what I want to use for it instead. What word should I use, Dr. Doe?
Orientation.
Orientation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't think that it's necessarily gender or sexual orientation. And it might not be how the person identified, like you're saying, or you're trying to avoid saying.
I'm doing a really bad job of it.
No, you're doing great. It was just a third, fourth, fifth option to this system that the colonial Americans had, which was, okay, there's male and female. And it's really, really fascinating to study because it blows up my mind to say, hey, look, cultures operate in different ways. Native Americans really had this figured out. They would treat these third gender people as the most valuable members of their community. Often this is a person who could be a medicine person. This is a person who could go into battle as both a warrior and a healer. This is a person who could understand the multiple spaces of their tribe members so they could understand the women in the tribe and they could understand the men in the tribe. They could be lovers to the women in the tribe and they could be lovers to the men, or they could be a father-mother figure. And that was revered rather than what, we did in the last century or millennia of just shaming the shit out of that. So then you have the people who did not originate here, came over on these ships, met the Two-Spirit members, would do horrible things to them, kill them, feed them to the dogs, punish them in any way that they could. They were pushed underground, and then their other tribal members were taught to detest them and shame them. So it wasn't until more recently that community came out of the woodwork, so to speak, and became more public about it. I'm really looking forward to an interview that I do with David Herrera, who is a member of the Two-Spirit Society, who can speak more about this from a first-person perspective rather than you and I kind of fumbling with our white skin. Like, how do we describe Two-Spirit, which is a really important concept, but we are falling short on. So watch that episode of Sexplanations with David Herrera on Two-Spirit. Cool. What about
you?
Eurolangya.
All right. Eurolangya. I don't know if I know that one.
Euro? Do you know Euro?
The delicious Greek sandwiches?
No. That's Gyro. Euro is referring to urine.
Okay.
And lagnia is another way of saying philia. It's when you're attracted to or you get pleasure from.
Water sports?
There you go. Well done.
Yes. So bright, my dad called me son, and boy, I'm showing him.
How do you identify to your parents now?
We don't talk about it.
Oh, okay.
It's not that they're not unaware, because I'm a very visible person, in my community and in the state. We just don't talk about it.
Okay, but for other people who have parents or guardians, if they are gender nonconforming or gender neutral or neutrois, et cetera, and they're not a son and they're not a daughter, what are they?
I use child.
Oh.
Child, offspring.
The obvious?
Yeah.
You use the obvious one? Great.
It's interesting, especially, my brother and I were very close. And while he's not necessarily up to date with a lot of stuff, and he doesn't necessarily understand a lot of things, but he'll ask questions and he'll know what's going on. We had a talk the other day about, what do I call you now? Because I've been calling you my brother for 26, 27 years at this point. And I said, well, they're sibling, but sister would be okay also. One that because I've noticed it because there's no gender neutral one to my knowledge. This may have been invented the word, but uncle or aunt, because there's sort of like, oh, these are my niece and nephew can be I think it's nibblings is the gender neutral version of that. And you have parents and children, but uncle and aunt is one that still I haven't found anything that I've really liked aside from Aunt Charley, which I use with my niece and nephew.
Nibblings. I'm still focused on nibblings.
Nibblings, yeah. It's the gender neutral version of niece and nephew.
Okay, so gender neutral version of aunt and uncle. For some reason, I'm going to Spanish and how instead of saying Latino or Latina,
With
they're
the X.
using Latinx. And so in my head, I'm hearing Tio, isn't that uncle? And Tia, which is aunt. And so you would do Tix.
I like Tix. That's my Tix Charlie. I'm all about it.
But if we pull it out of Spanish and put it back into English, aunt and uncle.
Which, as we all know, is a completely sane language that has rules that make sense every part of the time.
I mean, we could always default to Charlie.
Yeah. Which is
Every time you need a gender neutral term, the word is Charlie.
I'm putting that on my business cards now. That's
Yeah, Charlie, the noun, adjective, verb for everything.
Charlie
gender
is all
neutral.
seeing and all being.
Yep.
Charlie has no beginning or end.
Yep, it's perfect. I love it.
Where are we at in the alphabet? V.
Venereal.
Oh, my alphabet. W.
Wanker.
I like that. I shout that at people sometimes.
Yeah.
X.
Yeah, it's just triple X is what I came up with.
Well, that's good. That one's interesting. The origins of where we got the triple X from.
Right?
Yeah, because it was the MPAA didn't copyright their rating for X, which is now the NC-17 rating
Right.
since 1978, something like that. And so, hey, if one X is this, triple X, even better.
Yeah, well, because the MPAA, I think, was doing it to market as bad, right? Like, you don't want to go here. And then you have the porn industry saying, we're going to mark this with all these X's to say it's good. Like, you do want to go toward it. Yeah, I love
Also, how
that.
they used to market moonshine whiskey. How many X's were on the bottle would tell you how close you were to going blind.
I didn't know that.
Someone should double check that, but I feel that's correct.
Okay.
Like most things I say.
I think podcasts are a lot about feeling things are correct. Like, okay, we're going to have this unscripted conversation about sex. Hopefully we don't say anything that does harm.
Yes.
That's the goal.
So
Stay curious. Do your research, people.
So after X, we have Y.
Which is yonic.
I know yonic.
Okay.
The opposite of phallic.
Yes. Well, the one that I
opposite.
prefer is cunic for opposite of phallic.
Oh, I've
because
never heard that one.
Yonic is more the tantra version, right? Yoni, vulva.
Oh, okay.
And so cunic would be more of the clinical version.
It's good to know. I learned that word from a slasher movie where the killer has to explain, well, this part, it's really yonic. And it says, what? It's like, oh, it's like they're running into a, like a vagina. And so
In the slasher movie, this is the dialogue?
it's Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Robert Englund is in it. And it's a strange film about a film crew, documentary crew following a brand new slasher as he's about to I'm going to kill all these teenagers, which is, how we do it. And then he's explaining, talking about the tropes of horror films. And at this point, the girl that I've chosen, the last girl, is going to run into this area that's very yonic. And then they talk a bit about what that word means. Also, my favorite Doctor Who tweet after they announced the new casting was yonic screwdriver. And that made me laugh pretty hard.
Oh, this is so good. We're learning so much.
And then finally, Z, as our friends to the north say.
Yeah. I have it as they, z, zer, zir.
Oh, gender neutral pronouns.
Yeah. Look at that. We came full circle.
And you wanted to stop at J.
Well, I have stopped my kegels. I have a hard time doing them while talking and thinking, for that matter. But I'll do some backups later.
Sure.
So that my vagina, my anus, my urethra, they all stay nice and toned.
See, this is why we need a more specialized Fitbit, I'll say.
Ooh.
Just so you can tell that you got your kegels in for the day.
The Fitbit is the one that you wear on your wrist.
Yep, tracks
and
your
it's-
steps.
How is it tracking your steps from your wrist?
I don't know. I feel like that's something that they figured out and didn't explain. I assume it's from this movement, the walking, your hands are swinging at your sides, and it corresponds that to steps.
That's silly, though, because people are they're walking with their phones in front of them.
Oh, yeah.
Holding them in place.
Yeah.
All those steps uncounted.
Yeah.
How are those Fitbits working?
I think it's a big scam. Breaking here right now. We're going to get to the bottom of this.
Let's connect those little bracelets to
The best part of reading is reading between the lines.
the pubes. Let's connect them to the pubes. Okay.
Some sort of belt, perhaps? Some sort of... I'm picturing like a medieval chastity belt with a Fitbit on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But doesn't it have to go inside?
Boy, this is turning into a worse plan the more we talk about it.
Well, some people like things inside of them.
Sure. Preaching to the choir here.
Some people.
Some people.
And maybe not all the time.
Yeah. And maybe some people all of the time. Whatever journey we're all on, I support that.
Me too.
If you want to have stuff in you, go for it.
Right.
Just be safe about it.
Right. Okay. Well, if you want to see all of those terms re-explained to you.
And see them spelled out,
yes,
which I think, for
that's
easy
true,
Googleability.
Exactly. Then you can go to Sexplanations and search A to Z sexual terms. You have taught me some words. I've hopefully taught you some words.
And hopefully we've taught the listener some words.
Oh, so good. So good. Is there anything else that we should tell the audience while you're here in all your glory?
Check out my website, charleymacorn.com. You can see when I'm going to be around the country talking either about comedy or about gender diversity.
Yeah.
I also have a really weird blog there where I talk about some of the crimes I've committed. So check that out.
Ooh.
Ooh, yes.
How do you want to spell that for the audience?
Oh, yes, that's right. I spell it. It's C-H-A-R-L. Wait, hang on. Let's go back and actually use the phonetic sexual alphabet that we just created there.
Okay, let's see if you can remember.
Oh, boy. Already failing on C. Cunific? I didn't even come close to that
What
one.
is C? Wasn't conic. Oh, coitus.
Ah, yes. So I'm just going to spell it out. C as in Charlie, the voice you're hearing right now. H as in happy, how you feel listening to my voice. A as in always. RLEYMACORN.com for all your hot Charley Macorn news and dates and facts.
Yeah. And cum gutters.
And cum gutters.
Don't forget Charlie's cum gutters.
Don't forget Charlie's cum gutters. Don't forget Charley Mania. See, I think it really speaks to the integrity of a person. Well, not integrity, because he ended up being a real POS, but, you know, Hulk Hogan had Hulkamania, and that ran wild through the 80s. Let's see if we can get Charley Mania to run wild through the teens and 20s.
And to just make sure we're operationalizing this correctly, Charley Mania is referring to when gender-neutral person has a very high sex drive.
Correct.
Yes. Okay.
I am honored to take this word into the next century. I am.
That's wonderful.
This is the thing I'm going to be remembered for. 100 years, the way that we're reading about Beaver in a limerick, same way we'll be hearing about Charley Mania when our robot overlords are talking about our weird ideas about gender and sexuality in the early 21st century.
Good. That reminds me, do we have homework?
A little homework so you don't forget it. Here's Dr. Doe's extra credit.
Boy, my dog ate mine, and I feel... how about this? Be mindful of the gendered words in your life.
Aww.
And see if you can find a better use that doesn't exclude people.
That was so thoughtful. I was thinking that they were going to make a Charley Mania limerick.
Okay, hang on. Ignore that first thing I said. Are you kidding me? I want some Charley Mania limericks stat. If I don't have like 1,000 of those at my Twitter account, I am going to be so sad this next week.
Ooh, what's your Twitter? Let's plug that too.
At Charley Macorn.
Awesome.
Same weird spelling. It looks like Macorn, but it's Macorn. And the way that I remember it is Macorn on the macabre.
Aw, fun. Well, thank you for coming on to the Sexplanations podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I've had an absolute blast.
Good. Perfect. So if you want to check out Charley, please do that on both their website and their Twitter. And I can be found Sexplanations podcast on YouTube at Sexplanations and on Twitter at LTD, all spelled out. I want to give a special thanks to Cinema Studios for production, Complexly for hosting us and making sure that this great show exists, and to Count Boogie for the jingles, and Cora and Paro. I'm still learning.